From the very first day of filming It Ends With Us, something felt off. Crew members who had worked on Hollywood productions for years described an atmosphere unlike anything they had ever experienced before. An environment of unease, where the usual collaborative spirit was replaced by tension and fear. And at the center of it all, Blake Lively. While it's common for A-list actors to have input on a film's direction, sources say Lively took things to a whole new level, asserting herself in ways that went far beyond her role as an actress. According to multiple insiders, Lively wasn't just offering suggestions. She was dictating decisions, disregarding crew input, and undermining professionals who had been carefully selected for the job. Set designers, cinematographers, and even assistant directors found themselves walking on eggshells, terrified of crossing her. One source revealed that the stress was palpable, saying, "Whenever Blake was on set, you could feel this weight in the air. It wasn't like she was screaming at people or throwing things. It was worse. She had this way of making you feel like you weren't good enough, like she was constantly judging every move you made." Even Justin Baldoni, the film's director, reportedly struggled under her influence, with one crew member admitting that anytime a major decision had to be made, Baldoni's defeated response was often just, "Ask Blake." But the real fear came from the power she held over people's jobs. This wasn't just a standard film set. This was a post-strike production, coming after one of the longest work stoppages in Hollywood history. Many crew members had been out of work for months, struggling to make ends meet, and they were desperate to hold on to their jobs. And Lively, she reportedly used that desperation to her advantage. Multiple sources claimed that she had an unspoken authority, that if she didn't like how someone was doing their job, they were simply gone. And it wasn't just empty paranoia. According to reports, entire departments were replaced at her request, from the editing team to the wardrobe department, sending a clear message to anyone left standing: step out of line, and you're next. One insider revealed it wasn't even about talent. People weren't fired because they were bad at their jobs. They were fired because they didn't fit into Blake's vision, and nobody wanted to be the next one on the chopping block. And then there was Ryan Reynolds. At first, crew members weren't sure just how involved he was. But as tensions escalated, his presence became harder to ignore. While Reynolds wasn't officially part of the film's production, reports suggest that he was constantly hovering in the background, offering his input, and even defending Blake's more questionable decisions. One source described an incident where a cinematographer was replaced after pushing back on one of Lively's demands, only to later find out that Reynolds had personally called the studio to support the decision. It was clear that Blake wasn't acting alone, the source explained. If she wanted something done, Ryan backed her up. And when you have that kind of power couple working against you, what can you really do? With both Lively and Reynolds exerting their influence, the set of It Ends With Us didn't just feel like a workplace, it felt like a battlefield. One where the crew had no choice but to play by their rules, or risk losing everything. As the production of It Ends With Us continued, what was supposed to be a collaborative creative process quickly spiraled into a one-woman dictatorship. While Justin Baldoni was technically the director, insiders claim that he had little actual control over the film because Blake Lively had quietly taken over every major decision. Normally, directors work closely with their cinematographers, writers, and producers to bring their vision to life. But according to reports, Lively didn't care about Baldoni's vision, she cared about her own. Crew members recall how, within weeks of filming, Lively was overriding Baldoni on everything, from camera angles to lighting choices, to even rewriting scenes on the spot. And the worst part? Nobody could stop her. One crew member recalled, "Justin started out really excited about the film, but as time went on, you could see it wearing him down. He wasn't directing anymore. He was just trying to keep the peace." But peace was the last thing this production was going to get. One of the biggest clashes reportedly happened over the film's cinematography. Baldoni, who has a reputation for intimate, emotionally driven storytelling, wanted to use soft, natural lighting to highlight the rawness of the story. But Lively had other ideas. She allegedly hated the way the shots were being filmed and insisted that everything be more cinematic, going so far as to demand new lighting setups that directly contradicted the production's initial plans. A senior crew member revealed, "We had entire sequences planned out, but Blake would just come in and change everything last minute. It was chaotic, and it made life miserable for the crew because we constantly had to rework things to match her demands." And the script rewrites? That was another battle entirely. While It Ends With Us was originally adapted for the screen by Christy Hall, a professional screenwriter with years of experience, Lively reportedly hated the final script, but instead of going through proper channels to request changes, she allegedly took matters into her own hands and started rewriting entire scenes herself. This was a huge red flag for the crew because not only did Lively have no formal screenwriting experience, but her edits were also made without consulting the original writer or the studio. Even more shocking, reports claim that Ryan Reynolds got involved, using his own Hollywood connections to bring in uncredited script doctors, people Lively personally trusted. to tweak the dialogue. And the worst part? This all happened during the writers' strike, a time when Hollywood's biggest battle was about respecting professional writers. But Blake Lively didn't seem to care. One insider revealed the depth of the chaos, saying, "At one point, we had 3 different versions of the script floating around. Justin was directing based on the original version, while Blake was performing based on her own edits. It was a disaster." And when Baldoni finally confronted her about it, sources claim that Lively shut him down immediately, telling him she knew exactly what she was doing and didn't need permission to make changes. One crew member even recalled her making a bizarre Game of Thrones reference, saying she called herself Khaleesi and said she had dragons that would fight for her. At first we laughed, but after a while it stopped being funny. She really believed she was in charge. With Lively rewriting dialogue, dismissing professionals, and controlling every shot, It Ends With Us had stopped being a film. It had become a power struggle. And as tensions reached a boiling point, the real war was just beginning. Because once filming wrapped, Blake Lively took her control beyond the set, leading to one of the most shocking post-production takeovers Hollywood has ever seen. If the on-set power struggles were bad, post-production was an absolute disaster. Normally, once a film wraps, the director works closely with editors to shape the final cut, ensuring that their creative vision is preserved. But in the case of It Ends With Us, Blake Lively had other plans. According to multiple insiders, the moment filming ended, Lively made it very clear that she wanted full control over the editing process, despite having 0 experience in film editing. And when director Justin Baldoni pushed back, things took a dark turn. At first, the studio tried to compromise, allowing both Lively and Baldoni to edit their own versions of the film, with test screenings determining which cut would be used. But even when Baldoni's version scored higher in audience testing, Lively refused to back down. Instead, she went behind Baldoni's back and fired the original editing team, replacing them with professionals she had personally selected, many of whom had worked on Ryan Reynolds' projects in the past. One of the biggest red flags? The new editors reportedly had 0 prior experience working on romance dramas, with one insider revealing she was bringing in people from the world of action comedy and superhero films to edit a deeply emotional drama. It made no sense. But the worst part? Leaked text messages later revealed that even the editors themselves knew how toxic the situation had become. In one exchange, an editor wrote, "I just want Blake to feel like she's getting what she wants so we can move on from this need of hers." Another message described Lively's constant interference as a nightmare, with a post-production assistant admitting, "Every good moment that could have been amazing just turned into stress and chaos." Sources claim that Lively would demand last-minute changes, force the team to rearrange schedules around her availability, and insist on reshooting scenes in post-production, something that is extremely rare and wildly expensive. And then there was Justin Baldoni's public humiliation. After months of fighting for creative control, Baldoni found himself completely shut out of his own film. One of the biggest shocks came when he was uninvited from a key promotional event for It Ends With Us, an event that was supposed to celebrate the original editing team's work. When Baldoni was told at the last minute that he wasn't welcome, the post-production team was stunned. One editor simply texted, "Unbelievable." Another crew member even apologized to him, saying they had seen it coming. By the time the film premiered, the situation had reached a breaking point. Baldoni, who had poured his heart into the project, was reportedly forced to watch his own movie for the first time at the premiere, and not even in the main auditorium. According to sources, he was made to sit in the basement while the VIP guests, including Lively and Reynolds, celebrated upstairs. It wasn't just about creative differences anymore. This was a power play, and Blake Lively had won. But her control didn't stop at the editing room, because just when the crew thought the nightmare was over, Lively made one final power move that left Hollywood insiders completely stunned. And this time, it wasn't just about film edits. It was about rewriting the entire soundtrack of the movie at the very last minute. Just when the post-production crew thought things couldn't get worse, Blake Lively made yet another shocking move, this time targeting the film's music department. A film's score is crucial in shaping its emotional tone, and for It Ends With Us, an award-winning composer had already been brought in to create the soundtrack. According to reports, the composer had worked tirelessly to craft a score that captured the raw, emotional depth of Colleen Hoover's novel. The music was approved by director Justin Baldoni and the studio, and post-production was supposed to be moving forward smoothly. But then, Blake Lively stepped in. Sources reveal that Lively personally dismissed the composer's work, claiming that it didn't fit her vision for the film. And instead of consulting the music department or working with the existing composer to make adjustments, she fired them entirely. Who did she bring in instead? The same composer who had worked on Ryan Reynolds' projects, including Deadpool and Wolverine. This last-minute switch sent shockwaves through the production, not just because it was a massive insult to the original composer, but because the new hire had no prior experience scoring a romance drama. One insider described it as completely inappropriate, revealing that the music didn't match the film's tone. It was like watching an emotional, heart-wrenching drama with music better suited for an action comedy. But what made the situation even worse was the way Lively allegedly boasted about the replacement. Reports suggest that she openly bragged about bringing in someone from Ryan Reynolds' team, allegedly joking that she and Ryan share more than just children. For the original composer, who had worked for months on the project only to be discarded at the last moment, this was nothing short of a slap in the face. And they weren't the only ones who felt blindsided. The post-production team was furious. Editors, sound designers, and music supervisors had spent weeks aligning the original score with the film's pacing and emotional beats, only to have everything scrapped overnight. One anonymous crew member revealed, "We had to redo months of work just to accommodate Blake's last-minute change. It wasn't just inconvenient, it was disrespectful. And it wasn't just about the music itself." Sources claim that Lively insisted on being involved in the soundtrack's final mixing, forcing post-production staff to work around her schedule and redo entire sections just to meet her demands. This move alienated even more industry professionals, reinforcing the growing perception that Lively was micromanaging every department and refusing to trust the professionals hired for the job. By the time the film's final cut was completed, many crew members had reportedly distanced themselves entirely, unwilling to work with Lively again. One editor confessed, "We were just counting down the days until it was over. No one had the energy to fight her anymore." But if crew members thought the nightmare would end there, they were sorely mistaken. Because as the film's release date approached, Blake Lively made her most shocking move yet. And this time, it wasn't just about creative control. It was about taking her power struggle to court.